Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back. I'm Jeannie and I have a new haul to share on today's channel and I'm super excited about this. So this is a new to this channel brand. This is Crisania Neri. I've been watching her for a while on Instagram. I am absolutely obsessed with her. She is so talented. I've ordered from her once before, but it was just a macro lens for my camera. So any of the macro shots you see are using her lens. But I haven't tried any of her products and I've been wanting to, so I'm super excited about this because I have high hopes. So we're going to unbox this together and just have some fun, and we'll also do a nail set hopefully using some of these products. So let's go ahead and dive in and see what we have. I ordered this a while ago, but I just haven't had a chance to open it yet. So we will see what is in here. Oh my gosh, look at how adorable this is. So cute. I love her branding. And I believe she creates her own artwork, which is just really amazing, like just so talented. So we've got that card, and then, sorry, the box is so large. Okay, so let's start easy. I guess the cap came off of this, but that doesn't matter anyway. So I did order, look at this branding. I don't know if you can see it because of the glare. So I did order a liner brush, and this is super skinny. That was my hope. Like, I've seen others use her liner brush. Look at how skinny that is. That's going to be really good to use. I do want her other brushes. I just had to contain myself with this order, but hopefully I'll be able to pick up the other brushes soon. So I'm super excited to try that line art brush. And then let's start small. So I did buy some of her clays. These are 3D gel clays. Even this branding is so adorable. I've never used clays before, so I'm really curious about them. Oh yeah, I had to buy these because these are her glow-in-the-dark 3D gels. And look at how cute this packaging is. I think she's updated her packaging. I think this is an older packaging, but I don't even care because it's so adorable. Oh, it comes sealed. Let me see if we can get this open. Ugh. I get it because you don't want it to spill, but I hate these foils. Oops. I'm gonna need to change gloves. Wow. I wasn't expecting this to be so full. Huh, okay. We may have to try this in, or at least one of the clays in today's video. It's really interesting. Obviously, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm really excited to try it out and see how it works. So it's not sticky, which is good. It's definitely is different than like regular 3D gel, so we'll see. I'm excited to finally try them. I also got, this is another 3D. This is another glow-in-the-dark Phantom Peach. Let's open this one up. It's still open. Ooh, this one's a lot brighter than I thought it would be. It's very neon. Oops, I shouldn't use that hand. I'm kind of fascinated by this texture. And you know what? These are going to be perfect because it's time for our Halloween sets. So these are going to be perfect for the Halloween sets. And then I've got one more. I believe This is the clear. Oh, I didn't even notice. These are actually, maybe it's not just this one. Yeah, these two, the glow in the dark ones, are made in Canada. And this is her actually like Korean style, because it says made in Korea. This is her Korean style clay, which I believe is fairly new. Oh my gosh. Look at how adorable this packaging is. And this jar is huge. Wow. Oh. And it's got a tab. Thank goodness. Well, that's not helpful. There we go. Wow. Not only does it have the foil, it has that little lid. And then, I think this is clear. Yep. Huh. This is really interesting, that texture. This is fascinating because it's definitely very different to a 3D gel. It's different to a non-sticky builder gel. Wow, this is really cool. I can't wait to try this. Okay, we'll play with that in a little bit. The whole reason for my order, I'm super excited about. Oh, another cute card. Look at this. Look at this. This is her CX Sky collection. So she recently released some gel polishes, and I just couldn't help myself. I could have just bought a couple. But I don't know how you choose the colors. Like, look at this. It's magnetized. I mean, come on now. How adorable is that? She's got, look, a little note here. This collection captures the mystical balance of two ever-changing worlds, the sea and the sky. The natural shift in temperature within the sea, cooler and darker as you go deeper, warmer and softer near the surface. These color-changing cat eyes transform with heat and cold, revealing colors that echo the ocean's quiet depths and gentle rise, paired with soft, glassy pastel cat eyes that shimmer like butterfly wings floating across the sky. Wow, that is so cool. And look at how beautiful these are. I'm going to swatch them, but let's go ahead and look at one of the bottles before we get into the swatching. These are so nicely packaged in like that foam. So this is Luna Moth. So these are cat eye thermals. Ooh, now that is silky. Do you see that? Wow. Nice brush too. I like that they're a little shorter. Let me see. Now that is gorgeous. Do you see that? Wow. Okay, I cannot wait to swatch these. So we've got the 8 colors, and then it does have down here, look at that. That is so cool. I completely forgot. So look at this. It's a huge bar magnet, and it also has her little logo on it as well. Wow. I've never seen a magnet this huge. So it does come with a magnet, and then we have cutest little sticker. Oh my gosh, look at that. And then a keychain. I am already in love. I can't even. Everything is amazing. Look at this little keychain. swatch jewels. She actually included swatch jewels. It's a little acrylic stand for your swatches. Now that is cool. So we've got that. And then I did order, there was another gel that wasn't kind of, it goes with the collection, but it wasn't part of the collection. So this is there a name on here? No. I can't remember what it was called, but it looked too pretty not to buy. You know I have no self-control. So this is Deep Sea. Oh my gosh, look at that charcoal color. Let's try this magnet. Look at that. I mean, oh, I cannot wait to start swatching. Okay, I'm gonna switch to, we're gonna do some swatching and then I'll figure out what I wanna do and we'll do a set together. finished swatching out all the colors and I attached them to the display stand. So here's how they all look. I am so obsessed. These colors are absolutely beautiful. I love this display stand. Like everything is just amazing. So here you see it cat-eyed. I did do a second layer off camera. So these are all 2 layers of the cat eye. But I really wanted to not only show you, but see for myself what the thermals looked like. And I didn't want to dunk this whole stand in like water to see the color change because I didn't want it to affect the adhesive of how they're sticking to the stand. So because of that, I did decide that I was going to swatch them on swatch sticks off camera. So here's how they are on swatch sticks, which I know it's kind of wasting gel, but I really wanted to see what they looked like in the thermal state. So look at how beautiful these colors are. I'm obsessed with these cat eyes. They are absolutely so beautiful. They're just so unique. So let me show you. Let me move this out of the way. I have a bowl of ice water for the cold. I also have a bowl of hot water for the warm. And we're going to go ahead and look at the thermal change together because I couldn't help myself. I feel like these are thermal cat eyes. You have to see what they look like with the transition, right? So let's go ahead, take a look at these. And these are in the same order that's on this stand. So feel free to take a screenshot if you want to see in the order of what the names are. Of course, this one, the deep sea, that's the extra one that's not actually part of the collection that you buy separately. So that's off to the side. So that's the last one in the swatch sticks that I have. But these are the order of what you see. So we've got, let me see if I can fit these all in the glass. So these how they look. This is how they look with the cat eye. Let's go ahead, dunk them in the hot water and see what they look like, which they may already, it looks like they are already kind of in the hot state. So here's how they look hot. And then let's dunk them in the ice water. And ooh, you saw that change happened quickly. I don't know if you could see that. Just make sure they're all submerged because I kind of have to collapse them to get them all to fit in the bowl. So here's how they all look in the cold state. And let me do like half and half. So hopefully, oops, sorry. This is hard to get all to fit in. So look at that difference. So the top half is the hot and then the bottom half is the cold. So you can see those temperature differences. Some of them are more dramatic than others. It looks like a lot of them, the hot is like the warm is like the is silver, except for like these three. These are a little more subtle, but then you see this one, it's like the orange coppery to yellow. Look at that. That is so beautiful. I don't know if I've seen thermal cat eye gels before, but these are so cool. I'm still really obsessed with deep sea, so I'm definitely glad I bought it. So anyway, I got a little excited about that. So now let me go ahead, figure out what I'm going to do for a nail set, what colors I want to use. Then I'll switch to voiceover and then we will do a nail set together. Okay, so I have my nail tips prepped and ready on my nail stand, and I have sort of a plan on what I want to do for this nail set, starting with the colors I want to use. So the color I definitely wanted to use was Deep Sea. This is probably my favorite from the collection, even though it's actually separate from the collection. I absolutely loved it, and I knew I had to use it in some way. So I'm starting with a thumbnail, and I'm painting a thin, even layer of that to the entire nail. However, I'm not going to leave it as is. I don't know what this design is called. I'm kind of calling it a double cat eye French tip, but I don't know if that fits it exactly. But what I'm doing is after I've got the layer painted on, I'm taking some isopropyl alcohol and a cleanup brush, and I'm going to wipe off the French tip, the free edge area. So I'm only going to leave the nail bed area. So imagine like doing a French tip. You've got your nail bed color, and then at the free edge, that French tip shape, that V shape. What I'm going to do is wipe off the excess polish at that free edge area to draw that French tip. So I know a lot of people do this in the reverse order for French tips, where they like to kind of sloppily paint on the polish at the
free edge area and then wipe off to create your French tip shape. That's not really my preference, but I decided to try it this way. Only I'm wiping off the French tip area, free edge area, and leaving the nail bed area. But regardless, after I wiped it off, I'm still not, it's still uncured, it's still wet. I'm taking the magnet, I'm kind of velvetizing it, bringing those magnetic particles to the surface to get the look that I want for that nail bed area. Once I'm happy with that, I'm going to pop that in my lamp. And then while that's curing, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for my ring finger. So I'm painting a full layer of deep sea on the entire nail. Honestly, I kind of wonder, looking back on it, I probably would have preferred just to draw the French tip area using a liner brush and then paint upwards towards the cuticle area at the nail bed area. I don't know if there's advantage to wiping off. It seems kind of wasteful. Although I know people prefer like that cleanup wipe off method. I don't know. Let me know what you prefer down below in the comments. But what I'm doing, I just want to really refine that French tip shape. So I don't like it like a sharp V. I like it kind of rounded to mimic that oval shape of my free edge. I don't want it too shallow. I don't want it too deep either. So I'm just kind of envisioning how I would draw in a French tip. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and magnetize that nail bed area, bringing those magnetic particles to the surface because I want it to be like velvetized. And by the time I'm done with this, I can swap. So I can pop this in the lamp to fully cure, and then I can pull out the thumbnail and start on a second layer of that. So I'm kind of working in rotations, and that way I'm not just waiting for the lamp to finish with one. I'm starting on the other one so I can not waste time just sitting there waiting. So I'm going in with a second layer for the thumbnail. For the second layer, I can just follow the first layer. I don't need to do the same like wipe off method because I already kind of have like my template of what I'm going to do. So I'm just being really careful to just stay in the lines of what I did for the first layer. I probably didn't need a second layer, but I did want to build up just a little bit more opacity. So after I have the second layer on, once again, I'm going to leave it wet. I'm not going to cure. And then I'm going to take the magnet. This is the large cylindrical magnet that came in this collection. And I'm going to magnetize it, bring all those magnetic particles to the surface. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go ahead, pop it in the lamp, fully cure it. By this time, my ring finger is done. So I'm going to do the second layer for that one as well. This may not be making sense at this point. This was definitely a trust the process. Like I knew what I wanted to do in my head, but as I was doing it, I was a little concerned that it may not turn out. But essentially, it's the same concept of, I don't know if you've seen like reels or shorts or anything where people create cat eye designs by like layering. So you see like teddy bears, things like that, where they draw like one aspect, magnetize it, cure it, and then another aspect, and based on like the magnetization, it kind of creates that like clear distinction between the shapes. And that's sort of what I'm doing here. So now that I have my nail bed area done, I'm going in with the same cat eye gel, and in the free edge area where I wiped off that excess polish, I'm applying a layer of deep sea, and then I'm going to go ahead and magnetize it. And hopefully you can see here where there's that distinction between like the nail bed and the free edge area to kind of show that French tip design. So it's the same color, but they're clearly very different based on how they're magnetized. And I just think it looks so cool. I've always seen like the teddy bear designs and things like that, and I've always wanted to try them, but I've been too scared to. So this is kind of like dipping my toe into that kind of type design, but it's a lot easier when you're just doing a French tip. There's no right or wrong way to magnetize the French tip area, but what I'm doing is as I'm moving around the magnetic particles, I want to make sure that there's a clear delineation between the nail bed area and the French tip. So as long as I can see that difference, I'm completely fine with it. So I didn't really have like a plan on how I wanted it to look. I'm just kind of eyeballing it to see what I'm happy with. And then once I'm happy with that, I'll go ahead and cure it. And I will end up doing 2 total layers of this as well because I want my whole nail to be even. And since I did 2 layers on the nail bed, I want to make sure that I also have 2 layers on the free edge. I also wanted to mention the gel polishes themselves, and so far I am absolutely loving working with them. They are so easy to use. They apply so beautifully. They actually have really good opacity for a cat eye. And I love that they've got like the right consistency. So they're not super thick where it's just really hard to work with, but they're not super thin where it's like running all over the place. So they've got a really great consistency where they just apply like velvet, so easy. And then the brushes in the bottle, I absolutely love. They're shorter and flatter, so it makes it easier to control, and you get enough polish on there where it makes for like easy application. It doesn't apply streaky or anything like that. The only thing I will say is I wish the brushes had a rounded edge rather than a flat edge, but that's only minor because they are so easy to work with. Because off camera, I did apply some of this polish to my actual nails, and the application was easy. Like I didn't struggle at the cuticle area because these brushes that are in the bottle. The only brushes that I would say are similar are with the Doi Basic top coat, the gel top coat. I think maybe the Doi Basic, I think it may be a little bit longer than these, but I'd say like similar ease of use. So definitely probably one of my favorite brushes to use in a bottle. The only thing, like I said, would be that rounded tip, but otherwise, I absolutely love it and I cannot wait. And I'm also a little scared of if and when she comes out with more gel polishes because I'm probably going to need them. But anyway, I've moved on to fairy dust, which is going to go on my index finger and pinky. And I decided for the remaining three nails, in order to speed it up, in between each layer, after I'm happy with the magnetization, I'm just going to flash cure it using my flash cure lamp. And then once I'm done with my first layer on all three nails, I'll give it a full cure in my big lamp for 60 seconds and then do the second layer with the flash curing in between. And the reason why I'm flash curing in between is because once you're happy with the way your cat eye looks, you need to freeze that in place, because if you leave it sitting for too long, the magnetic particles will start to dissipate. So you want to make sure that you're freezing it in place by magnetizing it. I just had to pop in really quick to say, look at how sensitive this thermal is. With just a little flash cure in my mini lamp, the color already changed. I cannot believe how sensitive this is. It's so cool. Now that I've finished applying all my base colors, we're going to start playing with the clear 3D sculpting gel. And here's where things get interesting because I'm still really brand new to like the 3D sculpting space. Like I've done very, very little 3D sculpting. I'm talking like cherries where all you have to do is form a ball and place it on the nail. So any tips or tricks you could share, please let me know down below in the comments because I really want to practice and get better at this. So I'm taking a bit of that gel, I'm placing it on my palette. I was going to try to roll it on my palette using my cuticle tool. That didn't really work very well. So I do not want to handle the gel with bare hands. So always wear gloves because you don't want uncured gel touching your skin. So I'm just going to ball it up in the palm of my hand, in the gloved hand, just to make it easier because everything kind of starts with like a ball of that gel. And then for my thumbnail, I'm going to kind of place that on the thumbnail. I quickly realized though that this ball is way too large. So I'm going to place it back on the palette. I'm going to split it in half because I didn't want too much gel. I'd rather start with too little and add rather than have too much because once it sticks to the nail, it's really hard to get off. So I'm just going to reform it into a ball again. And don't mind me, I kept dropping the gel. So I'm going to place it on the nail. And what I'm doing here at the free edge is it's going to be like a little ghosty that's kind of tapering, disappearing into the sidewall of that free edge, if that makes sense. I'm sure you've seen this design before, and I'm not explaining it well, but I just want that little ghosty to taper to like kind of a point at that free edge at the sidewall. But I do want to start with like the initial regular like ghosty part. So I applied that circle. I kind of pushed it down a little bit to make sure that it's adhered to the nail. And then I bought a pack of silicone tools off of Amazon. They're not really the greatest. They're kind of a little too flexible, but I don't know if that's how silicone tools are supposed to be, or if I should have bought the ones from Crisania, if they're better quality. I don't know. Let me know down below in the comments. Like I said, I need to know everything on how to do this better. But I'm just starting to shape it because the regular part of the ghosty is kind of be that circle, and then it'll go down into like an oval to that tapered point at the sidewall. So I'm just working on the shape a little bit, but I did realize that I didn't have enough gel to make it back to the sidewall free edge area because I didn't want to flatten the ghost too much, or else that kind of defeats the purpose of the 3D gel. So I'm just adding a little bit more gel so I can complete the ghosty and make it meet that free edge. And of course, it would have been easier if I had like the milky white. She has a Korean gel, milky white 3D sculpting gel, but I wanted to start with the clear, see how I liked it first, and then if I liked it, I could invest in more colors. And I do want to try out her clays as well to try those and see if I want to buy more colors. But I didn't want to go too large, end up hating it, and then have all these products I don't use. So I decided clear would be a good place to start because I could just sculpt whatever I wanted and then just paint it in. It takes a little bit more effort, but that way I have less products in case I don't like it. So I'm just continuing to sculpt out. And if I see a line where those two gels meet, where I added that little bit more, it's not going to matter because I'm going to fill that in anyway. So I cured that for a full 60 seconds. It does cure hard. And then I'm going to take this Greedy Cake Gel. This is what from Myth Millo. I got it from Junie in my last haul. I'll leave that linked up above in the cards if you haven't checked out that video. So I'm going to use the white in this palette to fill in the ghost. So I've got this little rounded gel brush and I'm going to start filling that in. So I'm starting with the surface of the ghosty. I feel like the gel was a little bit streaky. I feel like I probably should have primed my gel brush first with a little gel base, and that might have helped. Maybe I was going too thin on my layers. So I'm going to have to play with this gel a little bit more to figure out like the best way to use it. But I'm going ahead and I'm filling in the ghosty. Because it's 3D, I also want to get the sides. I want not only the surface of the ghost to be white, but I also want the sides to be white. So I was trying to do it with the gel brush, but where I saw the challenge is I was getting white on the actual nail as well, just so it wasn't as easy. So I don't know if what I did was the best way to do this, like forming it on the nail and then painting it in, or if I should have just like created a charm on like a palette, cured it, painted it, cured it, everything, and then adhered it to my nail with like some jewelry gel. I don't know what the best way is, but regardless, this is what I tried. You know, it's trial and error. Like I'm never going to learn. I'm not never going to get better if I don't try it. So I'm just continuing to fill that in, and then I will actually end up doing a second layer because I felt like the first layer was just a little bit too streaky. But it definitely did get better after the second layer. But I did wonder, should I have just used like a really opaque white gel polish where I could have done it in one layer rather than having to do two layers of this polish? But I really wanted to try this palette because I just gotten it and I hadn't tried it yet. So it worked really well for like the finer details. So you'll see I'll fill in some details of the ghosties like the eyes and the mouth and things like that. And that it worked really well for. So maybe it's just not as good for like larger surface areas. Maybe it's just better for like the finer details. I did decide to switch it up and for the sides of the ghosties because my gel brush was a little bit too large and I was making a bit of a mess. I'm using the liner brush that I did buy from Crisania because I wanted to try it out anyway, and that was a lot easier to use. It took a little bit more time because I couldn't cover as much surface area, but there was also less time cleaning up. So I think it was better to do it this way. And once I'm happy with the coverage, I'm going to cure it for a full 60 seconds and then I'll go in for layer 2. I finished the ghostie on my thumb, and my final thoughts on her are because I wanted this to be like a cutesy Halloween set and not really spooky. I created like little blushy cheeks using a little bit of Mermaid's Kiss for the little cheeks, which I thought was adorable, especially because Mermaid's Kiss is a thermal. So as it gets hot, you're not going to see that pink. So she's going to kind of blush when she gets cold. However, I wish I would have given her arms. Like, I feel like just a little bit something's missing. So, if I were to do the set over again, I would create little arms on either side because I don't know. I feel like that's the one thing that would have made it a little bit better. But for my first try, I'm happy with the way she turned out. So, I'm moving on to my next nail. This is going to be for my index finger. So, once again, I'm taking a little bit of that gel. I'm starting with a ball and then I'm going to see what I think about the size of it. So I'm going to place that on the index finger. And I do realize it's a little bit too large. So I'm always starting out with too much gel. So I need to learn to start with less gel. But I quickly take it off the nail because I haven't like fully adhered it to the nail just yet. So I'm going to kind of split out that gel and ball it up a little bit more. So once again, I'm using my gloved hand to make a little bit of a ball. And on my index finger at the free edge, I'm going to make like a little pumpkin because I want this to be like a fall cutesy Halloween type theme. So I put that ball on the free edge of the nail, and then I'm going to start pressing down because the pumpkin's going to be like more of an oval shape rather than like a circle. And so I'm going to press that down, make sure that it's well adhered to the nail, and then I'm going to work on shaping it a little bit more to look a little bit more like a pumpkin. So I'm starting out with my finger, just kind of shaping it a little bit. To make it look even more like a pumpkin, I'm going to take my cuticle pusher at the flat end, and I'm going to do like indentations where you see like the markings of a pumpkin where they kind of indent in at like that curved kind of angle. So I find that this flat end of the cuticle pusher is just kind of perfect for that shape. So I'm just pressing in, creating that shape so it kind of looks more like a pumpkin. And that does kind of expand my shape a little bit. So I'll have to clean up my shape a little bit. But I do want to get those indentations in. So now it's really starting to look like a pumpkin, which is really exciting. The other thing I want to do is create like a little stem at the top. So I'm just taking a little bit more of that 3D gel. There's not much shaping that needs to be done. It's just like a little short rectangle stem that I'm going to place on the top of the pumpkin. I decided to skip like leaves because I think based on like the proportions of like the pumpkin, it'd have to be pretty small. And I didn't feel that confident that I could do it. So I just figured the stem was enough. So I'm going to go ahead, cure that for a full 60 seconds. And then I'm going to go ahead and color that in. So I decided to use Goldfish, which is the thermal cat eye in this collection. And I love it because it's like that golden orange type color. But the really interesting thing about this one is, which you saw in the beginning in my swatching, was it's a different thermal because the other thermal colors they turn to like a silver. This one turns like to a greenish yellow, which I find fascinating. It's such a unique color, but I think it's just such a good color for the pumpkin. And I love that it's kind of like got that glitter to it. And I will actually end up, after I color it in, I will actually magnetize it to make it pop a little bit more. And then once I've got that magnetized, I'm going to cure it for a full 60 seconds. If you're interested in any of the products from Crisania, I don't have a discount code to her website. However, I did see fairly recently that she posted that she will now start selling her products on Sweetie Nail Supply, which is super exciting. And I don't know if there's an actual date yet of when you'll start seeing her products on their website, but I do have a code with Sweetie Nail Supply. So if you use code Genie10, you can save 10% off your orders. I will disclose, though, it is an affiliate code, so I will make a small commission. It's at no extra cost to you, but it's a way to support me and this channel. However, I will also say there is a pause on shipping to the US from Sweetie Nail Supply. I believe it's probably going to be lifted fairly soon. I know they're working on the details on the back end, so just be a little bit patient and we can buy from Sweetie really soon. So that's another thing to note as well, is it's not permanent. It's just a temporary pause. I'm sure you figured out by now that I'm creating a little ghosty on my middle finger. This time it's like a little sheet ghosty, although I do, of course, have lessons learned from this because I feel like it kind of looks more like a tooth than a ghosty. However, I'm continuing on, so I'm painting on the eyes, so I'm just taking a larger dotting tool and that black gel. Of course, this is a cutesy ghosty, so I want to create those little blushy cheeks using Mermaid's Kiss and then that little mouth. I'm going to cure the gel for a full 60 seconds. And I wanted the eyes to be like a little more cutesy and kawaii. So I'm taking a smaller dotting tool in that white gel polish. And I'm going to create a dot in that eye at like the top right corner on each of the eyeballs. And then using an even smaller dot. So I'm using like an orange root stick because it's smaller. I'm dipping into that white. And underneath the larger white dot, I'm creating two smaller white dots just to create that really adorable eye look, that kawaii look, if you know what I'm talking about. So cute. So I'm going to cure that for a full 60 seconds. And then I decided she needs to be even cuter. So I'm going to create, I don't know, I probably went a little bit overboard, but I was having so much fun with these gels. I may not be great at it, but it was a lot of fun. So I'm actually going to create bow for the top of her head. So for the bow, I actually start with like that dollop of gel. I'm going to roll it out into like a little snake form, and then I'm going to chop it into smaller pieces. And that's how you get like more of those even pieces. And then once I have those two pieces, I'm going to roll them into little balls, which will make it easier to form that bow shape. So once I have my little balls, I'm going to place one of them at the top right corner of the ghosty for the first half of the bow. And then next to it, I'm going to place that second ball of not dough, of gel. And that's going to be the start of my bow. So now all I'll have to do is shape it. So I'm trying to use the silicone tool because I don't want the bows to be rounded. I want them to look like that rounded triangular shape where they kind of meet in the middle. So I'm starting to kind of flatten it out, create that bow shape to where it's like tapering in the middle where they're tied together, where they meet, and more flared out at the ends. So I want to make it look more of like a rounded triangle rather than a flat circle. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here with the silicone tool, is kind of make it like a little bit more of a bow shape. And then of course for the bow where they kind of tie into the middle, you see like that indentation where they meet in the middle. So that's where I'm going to use my cuticle pusher, the pointy end of it, to kind of push in that gel to create that indentation to make it look more bow-like. And I think this bow is like super adorable. And then I'm just going to continue to work on the shaping a little bit because I wasn't happy with it. So, you can do as little or as much as you want. But then, of course, I need to color the bow because I want you to be able to see it. So I decided to go ahead and use Mermaid's Kiss so it could be like not purple, a red bow. So I'm going to go ahead, fill in that bow, and then I'll cure it for a full 60 seconds. I went ahead and applied my press-ons off camera, and as always, I'm going to finish off my mani by rehydrating my cuticles with my Scales of a Mermaid cuticle oil. And what better matching scent than Spooked? This is a mainline scent, so you are still able to grab this, and it's perfect to go with your spooky season manis because it's like a cutesy spooky season because of the little ghosty and the pumpkin. And of course, this scent is really amazing as well. If you do decide to pick up anything from their website, I have an affiliate code, so you can use code Genie10 to save 10% off your orders. But that pretty much wraps up today's video. I know this is a longer video, so if you are still here and you hung in there, leave me a ghosty emoji down below in the comments so I know that you're still here. I would love to also know what you think about this set. I have a lot of lessons learned. There is a lot of trial and error, but I still really love the way this turned out. So I hope this video is helpful, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this, and it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.